The wind screamed louder than the engines. Below, endless mountains stretched like scars across the earth. The helicopter rocked violently as the soldiers shouted orders. "Throw him out," someone barked. Jack Turner, a decorated war veteran, single father, and the man everyone thought was unbreakable, stared down into the abyss below. His wrists were tied. His body bruised. His heart pounding not from fear, but from betrayal. He had served beside these men once. Now, they called him a traitor. "Any last words?" the leader sneered. Jack's jaw clenched. "Tell my daughter I kept my promise." And then, he was pushed. The world flipped, the air roared, and Jack fell through clouds thick as smoke. For a split second, he saw her, his little girl, Emma, standing at the edge of their old porch, waving at him the day he left for Afghanistan. He'd promised her he'd always come back. He hit the ground with a force that should have shattered every bone. But when the dust cleared, Jack was standing. Without a scratch. Hours later, a passing rescue crew found him wandering barefoot through the valley, silent, disoriented, but alive. Doctors couldn't explain it. No broken bones. No internal bleeding. Nothing. It was as if the earth had caught him. Reporters called it a miracle. The military called it classified. But Jack knew the truth. That night, lying in a hospital bed, he dreamed again, of the explosion that ended his career. Of the night he lost half his unit and barely crawled out alive. Of the letter he wrote to his daughter that he never had the courage to send. In that dream, his brothers in arms stood around him, smiling. The ones who didn't make it home. "Not your time yet, Captain," one of them said. "You still got someone waiting." When he woke up, the first thing he saw was Emma, 14 now, eyes full of tears, holding a crumpled drawing she'd made years ago. A stick figure with wings. "Daddy, I prayed every night you'd come home," she whispered. "I told God not to let you break." Jack's throat tightened. Looks like he listened. Weeks later, Jack could have gone on television, written a book, become famous overnight. But he didn't. Instead, he started something quieter, the Second Chance Project. He used his veterans' benefits and local donations to build a small retreat for wounded soldiers and struggling single parents. A place where people broken by life could learn to stand again. When volunteers asked why he did it, Jack would smile and say, "Because some of us don't fall, we're just being taught how to rise." Months passed. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Jack and Emma stood outside the retreat, watching new arrivals, a mother with 2 kids, a young vet missing a leg, a man who hadn't spoken since Iraq. Emma slipped her small hand into her father's. "Do you think they'll be okay, Daddy?" Jack looked at the fading sky. "They will. Sometimes, life throws you out of the helicopter. But if you keep faith, you'll find wings you never knew you had." And somewhere deep in the valley, a wind rose, the same wind that once carried him down, now gentle, almost grateful. Because Jack Turner didn't just survive the fall. He turned it into a reason for others to rise. Moral. Sometimes the world pushes you to the edge not to break you, but to remind you that you can fly. Compassion and faith don't just heal, they lift.